Morning. Praise the Lord. My name is Joseph Casoose. I'm a San Carlos Apache, and I would like to give my testimony of what Jesus has done in my life. In 1994, I became a Christian. I got saved. Before that, I was out in the world doing my own thing. I always believed in Jesus, in God, but I never lived his ways or obeyed him. I got into alcohol, I got into drugs, all the things of the world. But in 1994, this thing called salvation, knowing Jesus, I called on him and he came into my life. I used to be out there drinking and drugging, and one night I came home around midnight, 1 a.m., and my wife gave me an ultimatum, either to stop drinking or that she was going to move out, move away. And she told me that she had enough of my ways, of my party, and all of that stuff, and that she was going to leave me tomorrow morning. So the morning came, and I was upset, angry. And in the morning, my wife was sleeping on the couch, and I dragged her off, and I kicked her. And it's not the first time that domestic violence was in our marriage. So I kicked her, and I told her God was weak. Her God that she served did not protect her. She's always saying Jesus to me, always talking about God to me. And I said, where is your God that you pray to, that you always listen to gospel, you always reading the Bible, paying your tithes, going to church, and yet your God did not protect you? And I used profanity on God, and I told my wife that her God was weak, and I walked out, and I went to work, and I was waiting for the police department to come by and pick me up, but they didn't. I got off of work around 4 p.m., went home, and the house was empty. My family had moved, gone out. And so from then on, I started on hanging out at the bars. I started selling a lot of the possessions that we had, like video recorder, TV, stuff like that. And one night I came home with a bunch of drugs. I was into cocaine, marijuana, used to drink a lot of alcohol. I had all of those. I brought all of those home when I was by myself in the house, and I started to miss my family. And I started to cry, I was crying because I didn't have my wife, my kids. And I always believed in God. I always thought there was a God somewhere. So I decided to pray. After midnight, I decided to pray, and I wrote a letter to my wife. And in the letter, I said, I will stop drinking, drugging. I'll be your friend. I'll be your husband, a father to my kids. I'll be somebody you can rely on. I'll be dependable, and I'll go to church. I don't know what they do at the altar, but I'll go to the altar. And I'll go to church with you from now on. I'll do all the things that I should have been doing before. And I wrote that letter. And I told her that I will quit drinking. I'll come straight home. I'll be a father. I'll be a husband, and I'll quit everything, drugging, all. If you would come back or give me another chance. I wrote that letter on a piece of envelope, and I prayed that night, and I cried that night. So in the morning, I heard somebody come in the door, the front door, and it was my wife. And my wife says, in Apache, she says, that means I've come to clean the house up. And I said, well, I wrote you a letter right there. I want you to read it. It's right there by the stove. And I went out and did my usual thing. The bad things, drinking, drugging. I went to the drug house, hang out there. That night, I came home because I was hanging out at a bar and I was getting sick from alcohol. There was really nothing happening in there. So I went home. My letter was answered. My wife says, I'll be over in the morning and we'll talk. Please don't be drunk, be sober. So I went to sleep right away. She came around about the same time, about 8, and she came in and she started talking, and she says, remember remember you kicked me? I said, yes. Well, nothing happened to me that time. The angels protected me. I acted like I was hurt, but I wasn't really hurt. I was just protecting the kids. So she showed me. She took her shirt off and all of that. Took her shirt off to show where I kicked her, and there was no bruises, no redness, no swelling, nothing. Jesus' angels had protected her, and there was no evidence of any injury. And she says, after she told me that, she says, I will, when the kids get out of school, we'll come back. So after she told me that, I never stopped drinking after that. I stopped drinking after that. The drugs slowly went away. For 23 and a half years now, I have not had any alcohol. I've been sober. And I've never went to AA, went to rehab, went to a medicine man, or anybody else. All the things that I quit, Jesus did it. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He's the one that saved me. He's the one that helped me maintain. And up to this day, I'm glad, I'm happy, and I'm blessed that I'm sober, and that He made me a better person. And she came home, and we before I got saved, my wife used to go shopping for me, clothes, shirt, pants, shoes. She said, when I want you to look good in church. So I brought you some clothes. She would wake me up on Sunday morning or Saturday morning when I'm got a hangover, and she wakes me up and say, "Hey, get up, try the shirt on. I want this is your church clothes." So she did that to me probably 3 times for my shirt, my pants, and my shoes. And my church clothes was already hanging in the closet. And my wife prayed for everything. She anointed everything with her anointing oil. She anointed my bed, my clothes, me, my truck tires, everything. And she had faith. And that's how God came into my life and changed me. I was kind of embarrassed or felt not right when I was going to church when I first started out, because I was all dressed up and had a Bible in my hand and going inside the church and holding the kid's hand and going in there. I felt out of place. Didn't feel good, feel right. But that's how I started. And I'm a member of a non-denominational church. And I'm glad that I'm in there. It's the right church for me. That's what worked for me. So anyway, as time went on, this church Christian walk was kind of hard for me. I wanted to give up. I said, "Man, this is hard. You know, I gotta pray all the time. I gotta read the Bible all the time. I gotta go to church all the time. I gotta pay tithes. I gotta do all this thing. I don't think I want to do this anymore." You know, and I thought about going back. I thought about quitting. I thought about going back to the drugs and alcohol because it was too hard at that time. So I had a assistant pastor at the church that I really got along with him, and his name was Jesse. And my wife went to Jesse and asked him in church, "Hey, talk to Joe, talk to my husband about that retreat in Prescott. Invite him over there, you know." So we went to church, and Jesse said, "Hey, Joe, you going to retreat?" I said, "No, I'm not." "No," I told him. "Come on, let's go. We'll have a good time." I said, "No." Then he put his arm around me and said, "Hey, Joe, come on, let's go. Let's go over there." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll go." So when I said yes, the next week, right away, probably on Monday, my wife went to the church and prayed and paid for the retreat for me. And then I think it was on that weekend, on Friday, I left work 4 hours, took 4 hours vacation, came home at noon, and all my clothes was packed for me to go to the retreat, a man's retreat. Emmanuel Pines, they call it, right, Carol? And I went over there, and everything was packed. My clothes, my snacks, my Bible, blankets, all. It was right there by the door when I walked in. And all I had to do was load up and leave, which is what I did. And when I started headed that way, I started crying, you know. I started crying. I cried all the way up there to Prescott. And I was raised a Catholic, you know. I didn't believe a lot of the things that Pentecostals believe in. But when I got there, it was a whole weekend, surrounded by a lot of brothers, Christian brothers there. And I see them praying, I see them getting the Spirit. And I was thinking, when am I going to get there, or what? Is God going to touch me? So on the Saturday night, they were praying and all of that stuff, doing preaching, sermon, Bible study, all those. And I got up, and they were start praying for me. And that time, I felt the Spirit of God. Got me, I fell down. My legs got weak, and God touched me over there. And that, from then on, I started to go to church. I started reading my Bible, and I searched for Jesus, for God the Father, a long time. And I was wondering, the Miracle Church people, Marcella, my in-laws, they all say, my wife, they say they hear God. They say God speaks to them. And I said, is this true? Is it true? So I started searching for God to find out, see if it would speak to me or if I could hear him. And it took a while. But I used to walk on the mountain preserve for prayer and to exercise. I've been up this mountain a lot of times, but this one time I was going up. I went all the way up looking for God. Is he in the clouds? Is he here? Would I see him? I went praising all the way up the mountain, and I didn't hear nothing. So I went to the top. I came back down, and I was about to finish my walk. I was almost to the bottom of the mountain, and I heard a voice say, "Biwanak nanta." In Apache, that means go back up. I said, no. He told me this like almost close to 10 times. 8, 7, 10 times. He told me. I said, no, there's nothing up there. I'm just coming from there. There's nothing up there. He says, "Wanak nanta." I said, I'm not in shape to go back up. He says, go back up, So I finally got tired of saying "Wanak nanta," and so I said, okay, I'll go back up, but let me drink some water at the fountain down there at the parking lot. So, which I did. Drank some water, came back up, and my first curve right there on the road, God started speaking to me. I heard the voice of God in Apache. He says, "Di ikatihi tles bekai katihi atin I lie." This road, this dirt that you're walking on, who made that? Who made this dirt? What man would invent something like this? That the dirt you're walking on, it gets rained on, it turns into mud, it gets hard, then returns back to dirt. Who invented that? What man did that? He told me in Apache, all in Apache. He says, who made these pebbles, these small rocks that you're walking on? Who made this dirt that cushions your feet? Who made these bushes beside of the mountain? Who made that najaga, that cactus that's standing over there? Who made that? He said, who made this mountain that you're walking on? He said, I think you could say I lie. Who made that clouds up there? It's so simple that I never really thought about it much. And I started crying. And I went all the way up. And right before I was going to reach the top, he spoke to me in English. And this is what he said. He said, I am everything. I am everywhere. I'm right by your side during your good times and bad times. And when I reached the top, I could see, seemed like my eyes was open, you know. I see things different. I seen the vegetation, different colors, different shades of green. When I was standing there, I knew that God was going to help me with my problems, my addictions, my bondages. So I went back down, crying. I was crying almost all the whole trip on that mountain. So I came home, and I was gone. I was at the mountain probably 4 or 5 hours. And I got home, and I didn't want to say anything to my wife because I might start crying. So as soon as I walked in, as soon as I seen her, she says, where you been? Then I said, I didn't want to, but I was with God up there on the mountain. She says, I know. That's what he told me. I prayed. I asked about you. I was concerned because you've been gone a long time. So I prayed and asked God, and he told me that he was with you on that mountain. And that kind of confirmed that what really happened, what I really heard was true, that I was with God. So that's what happened to me, and the addictions are all gone. Also, when I wrote that letter when I was in my house, I promised God that if he would help me with my marriage, with my addictions, that I would go out and testify for you. I will tell people about what you've done for me in my life. God has done so much in my life that some things you forget, but he's done a lot of things. He's sobered me up. He gave me good jobs. He gave me a good Christian woman. And God's done so many things for me. And now I go to church, read my Bible, and I go out and testify, talk to people about Jesus. Then I go to awakes or revivals or churches. If the testimony is open, I go and testify. And that's my testimony. I have a lot of others' testimony. God has really blessed me, picked me up. And one time I was, sometimes we rely on other people too much when we should rely on God. One time I wanted to hang out with a brother, Christian brother, but he didn't want to go and hang out with me, so I left the church and I was driving down the road, and God spoke to me in Apache. He says, "Yeah, no, and anything. What did he say to you?" He said, "Yeah, anything. Did he hurt you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I didn't want to go." And then he says in Apache, "I could tell one." And I said, "See, Kayla, he says, "That's why I told you, let's fellowship, just me and you, and talk together, just us, nobody else," he told me. So God has done a lot of things in my life. Helped me retire 2 times in the city, here in the city of Phoenix, city of Mesa. He's helped me health-wise. It's the best thing ever that happened to me that he came into my life. And I praise him. He is my Lord and Savior. He's an awesome God. He's, he's always by my side. He's my protector, my healer. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He's everything. My wife, when I first became a Christian, she would remind me and say, Joe, you know you're not number one in my life, she told me. I was thinking, what? What does she mean? You know, it kind of upset me some, you know, tell you the truth. She said, Jesus is number one in my life. You are number two. And then the kids. She told me this, reminds me every so often that God is number one in her life. She's a strong person, got strong faith, and she helped me lead me to the right way, the right God. I'm an Apache. I don't believe in the Apache traditional dances, social dances, whatever you call them. I don't have a medicine man. I don't have a medicine woman. I have no eagle feathers. I have no yellow powder. None of those. I don't need it because I got Jesus Christ in my life. He is the one. He is the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father but through Jesus. That's what it says in the Bible, you know. And I'm going to stay on this side. A lot of things, God, I give credit to. I would say a lot. Almost everything in my life. He gave me jobs. When I first got here in 1976, we moved to Phoenix. And I applied for Phoenix. So I got hired on as a temporary City of Phoenix employee. And I didn't know my way around much, so I got off on the wrong street, and I got out on Buckeye, and when there was a lower Buckeye Street also. I didn't know that. So, and it was raining. I got off, and I asked somebody, hey, where's lower Buckeye? It's further down. So I started running. I was running there, and right at the corner, I was almost there, and this person pulled up beside me and said, hey, need a ride? Where you going? I said, I'm going to that place over there that I got a job. He says, yeah, I'm going to the same place too. I work there. I'm the assistant superintendent, he told me. So gave me a ride over there. I made it on time. And then 6 months later, our headquarters would move around, but they moved too close to the airport, so I was over there. And we had different crews, like 4 or 5 different crews. And he called my name in the yard. He says, hey, Casoose, come, don't go nowhere. I want you to come see me. I need to speak to you. I said, okay. So I went to his office and said, hey, I got a job for you, he told me. You got an interview over here at the water plant. So I went over there, and they hired me right on the spot. And I know that it was Jesus, you know. I know it was God. Even though I probably wasn't right. Maybe my wife was praying for me. Somebody was praying for me. But that's how God worked in my life. And I'm blessed. And Jesus is the answer. And in my family, there was 5 boys, 5 girls. I've been the only Christian for like 23 years. But recently, 2 of my sisters Carol had him say the sinner's prayer, led him to the Lord. And I led some of my family members to the Lord. My dad, he was in the hospital. He was on the traditional side. Every time he was drinking, he'd come out with these songs. He probably only knew 2 songs, but he repeated it all the time. But anyway, he was in the hospital, Indian hospital over here in Phoenix. And I went to him and I said, "Hey, Dad." I showed him the words. I said, "You want to say this?" So he looked at it. And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yes." So I said, "Repeat after me." So I started saying the sinner's prayer to him. He started repeating it. Within the second sentence, he started crying. I did that to my mom too. And some of my one of my brothers got saved too before he went home, Harding Jr. And you know, God is an awesome God. That we on earth, some of us think we're strong, strength. He's a bad dude, you know. But I tell you who's a bad dude. It's Jesus. You know, when I used to run around, I always caused trouble. But when I was with Jesus, they were more afraid of me than I was in the world. One time I was going towards my mom's house after I got saved, and my family was drinking under a shade. I don't know what you call that. In Apache, it's called Tlaskan. So my brother, my cousin, my son, my nephew, they were all there. And I pulled up and they scattered. All of them scattered. My brother went inside the house. My cousin, Boboy, took the case of 40 ounces, took it over there behind my mom's house. But my son got in his car. I asked him, "Where you going?" "I'm going back to the trailer." He lives just close by. I said, "Hey, I'll be over there pretty soon," I told him. So the only one that was left was my nephew, Matthew, and they didn't treat me like that when I was out there. But when I was with God, when I was with Jesus, they were afraid that I was going to start preaching, you know, start saying, witnessing about Jesus. Hey, you ought to quit all that stuff and try Jesus, you know. But Jesus is straightened my life out. He helps me maintain. He's got stability. And ever since my wife came back, ever since then, I've never drank for 23 years. I'll go to work. I come back straight home. No drug house, no bars, no beer, no dope, nothing. I come straight home to my wife, to my kids. Never go nowhere. Never really go outside of my house. Just stay home and protect the house. We become a prayer warrior for my family. And God will save. God is still in the saving business, and He's helped me with a lot of things. And that is my testimony. I give all glory, praise, and honor to Jesus Christ. And I'm a warrior. I will keep on testifying for Him. And I will tell people, like I promised God, that I will tell people about you. I will tell them how you helped me. And that's how I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep on going. And I want to thank John, Pastor John and Luis for the church here and for being pastors. I know that God is with them. And I love this church, and thank everybody for listening to me, and have a good day.